Hey, so we're here with the man who needs no introduction, Billy Litz, our lead frontman for Hustle Souls. We just got done last night, the upstairs room at Backstreet, and then had a chance to talk with the whole band. But wanted to get a couple of minutes to talk to each of you individually and just kind of get some impressions on how the recording process went for the new album. It's Hustle Souls, self-titled. Band's starting to get a little bit more comfortable working together in the studio, and just in general, what were your thoughts on how this process went versus maybe some of the earlier recordings?
Well, so the reason it's going to be a self-titled album is because we are really trying to figure out who we are. I feel like we're at that age as a band where you're coming to your own at 18 and figuring out who you really are. And I think that this hopefully will be definitive statement of what we are trying to say musically, which has always been a little bit all over the place. But I think we've captured a good balance of serious songwriting with some funk and some swamp and some horns and some but also some harmonies and soulful stuff. I think I hope we got it all into a box and put a little bow on it with this one. I think we are all feeling more confident in these songs than anything we've ever done before. And yeah, I think it's just, I think it's the right time for us to do our second full-length album, but the first one that we've really done with any, we were almost a completely different band when we did Color. It's we literally have different band members, but just the way we are approaching the songwriting process and music is just a lot different. And I think the time is right for us to do this, and so we went in there feeling pretty confident in what we were trying to do, where there was an element of unknown, or when we did Color, we had no clue what we were doing. It was kind of just Eric Serafin, our producer, just kind of pulled us along through it. And I learned a lot about music and recording through that process. And then, I thought that was going to be a multi-platinum. I thought we were going to knock Thriller off the charts with that one. And some people love the album, and some people still do, and we still do. But I learned a lot, being able to listen back to it and reflect on it, and learned a lot about songwriting and recording through that process. And the Daydream Motel was in the middle of COVID, and it was super strange. We were, there's disco songs and country songs on that one, and so we were working in new band members at that time. I think you can hear that. It's some of those songs were written with Sean and Tommy, our original rhythm section, and we held them over and reworked them, and some of them were new, and we were kind of figuring out where we were headed.
Right.
And then Walking Off the Plank, I was let's go hardcore into this songwriting path, because I feel like I've been denying this side of my songwriting, is this acoustic side of it, where it gets a little bit more serious, because we were trying to put on party shows, and then during COVID we weren't putting on party shows.
Right.
And so we were able to embrace that and got the courage to do that. But that was very specifically an outlier album to kind of break through that wall of being allowed to do songwriter style music. And I feel like through all that identity crisis, we've come out with this one, which is, I think, hopefully gonna seal what we did. And so it felt great going into the studio, just knowing this is gonna be, I know what these songs are supposed to sound like, and I know when I listen to them at the end, I've got a picture in my head of where they should be. And so there was a little bit more confidence going into it.
Great. So you and I have had this conversation before about some of the softer stuff, the stuff that came off of Walking Off the Plank, and even Making a Deal, though it builds into a nice crescendo. They're kind of that slower feel to them, so it's where to put them into the sets in the live application versus when you do it in the studio, you can kind of pick the tracks, but you don't have to worry about the vibe of the crowd at the time.
Yes.
So working in that slower singer-song stuff, which I think Diane and I would both agree is you guys picked very nice spots throughout the show. Coming off of 2 or 3 hot smoking songs, you got to slow it down a little bit. But when you're in the studio, how do you pick the? Is it Alchemist Montana? Is that where we're getting?
Well, Alchemist is the first song, but then it's going into Who Knows What Love Is, which I think really comes to life in the studio. And so I mean, that's a good example. Is I think that I was talking to a painter last night. Shout out to Wine and Design in Morehead City, who just made these amazing new signs for our merch table. But Haley's her name, and she does mural painting, but she also paints on canvas. And I think that there's a wholly different approach to painting on a 11 by 11 inch canvas versus a mural. And I think that some things really live on recordings, and certain approaches to singing, certain approaches to arrangement live on recordings, and some things live live. And I think that like a song like Ladder to the Sun, like the gospel, just like full speed ahead, it's never not gone great live for us. It's like, it's always, we just know it's sturdy.
If you need to pick me up, let's do that one, because everybody's gonna feel good.
And it's like putting a cheeseburger on your menu at a restaurant or something. And then
you gotta have your steak.
There's and I'm so happy that we were able to write a song like that, because we always were missing that missing link in our live set. And I've tried to redo other ones, and that one's got the spark and it works. But I don't necessarily think that's going to be everybody's favorite song on recording. Not because it doesn't live up to that energy, but just because a lot of times when you're listening to an album, you're driving in your car by yourself and it's raining outside. And so you're not necessarily trying to throw a beer in the air and scream. You're trying to engage in a different way. And so I think Who Knows What Love Is like the way we did it. We've got these like really nice like bells, and it's like real classic Motown soul song with sweet harmonies and stuff. We even got some strings at the end of it, and I think that song just like doesn't always make sense to people live, but I think on the recording it's one of my favorite ones that we did. So I think in the recording, and I've heard other bands talk about this, like bands like Wilco, and I've heard the Smashing Pumpkins be like, you know, everybody just wants to hear the rockers live, but I just want to play like the sad slow songs. And it's like, I definitely feel that way sometimes, where I would love to be playing in listening rooms where we could do a ton of songs like that. But I understand it's like we're trying to put on a high energy rock show. But on the album, I think you get a lot more freedom. It's like when you show up to a concert, you've got expectations of what your night is going to be like. You dressed up in high heels or platform shoes or a tank top or a tie-dye, or I know you always wear the platform shoes. But you got an expectation of like, you know, we had a bachelorette party last night. It's like they've got a vibe that they want. Yep. And so we're kind of melding our world with theirs. If you're putting on a record, you're kind of a blank slate. You put on, especially a vinyl, it's like such an intentional thing. You put it on, and whatever's on that vinyl is gonna be what you have. And so it's a little bit more of a blank slate to paint on. And so I feel really confident breaking down Louder Than the Birds on this one to close the album.
I'm ready for it. I'm definitely ready.
Lots of harmonies.
Well, you guys put that one away live for a little while too, because you just weren't happy enough with it. It sounded great, but you, as the band, when I'm saying the collective, you decided we got to put that one away until we iron out the harmony.
We went into the studio and we were like so confident. We were like, we're like Boys to Men over here singing. And we sound great. And then our producer Eric was like, guys, this is not gonna work. Like, because we were, you know, in harmony singing, harmony is different notes. You're all supposed to be on different notes. You're not supposed to cross with each other. And me and John are landed on the same note here, and so it was just, and in the studio you hear everything. The energy of just like, it's an intimate thing, and so energy can cover up a lot of mistakes live. And then in the studio, it's like, oh, this is a nice microphone, and I can really hear that it just sounds bad. And so I had to spend weeks like trying to like open up my old college textbooks on like harmony and voice leading and like how to make these notes work together in 4-part harmony. And it was definitely not my like forte in musical skill. It was a lot of fun, but it took a lot of time. And then once we wrote out the harmony parts, we had to reteach it to ourselves.
Because you'd been doing it the other way, right?
Because we've been doing it the old way, and so we just had to put a stop on it, because we were like, look, we can't keep doing it the old way while trying to learn the new way. And so it took us a month and a half, 2 months to get the parts locked in and relearn them. And so now we brought it back, but again, it's a slow song. It's like the moment has to be so right for us to pull off an a cappella song, and it's like we have to really earn the audience's trust that it's worth it to listen. And so sometimes, we can't do all of our songs like that in a live set. So we do it every once in a while. We still get to do that one.
Well, I've got a lot of questions about that song because I feel like it came out of another John Prine song you guys were doing as an a cappella, and we'll get into all that another time. But it's a lot of fun. I love having the time with you. But I just to get you off, give you some time before tonight's show. What's for you the most exciting part about? All right, we've done it. The album's in the can. Now we're just waiting for delivery of the vinyl and all that stuff. And yeah, this next couple of months of promo are going to be fun. But what gets your juices flowing for the next thing, whatever it is? Whether it's going right in after another album. We got a couple of new songs last night we talked about with a couple of the other guys.
Yeah.
So
I think that, well, I should probably talk to a therapist about all this. But every time I write, songwriting is, I take it really seriously. It brings, finishing a song, nothing gives me as much ecstasy as feeling excited and discovering what the chorus is going to be and being like, oh man, this is actually kind of cool. I love that feeling so much. And then it's kind of like a drug where it's like once I know the song is done and I record a demo on my iPhone of it, 30 seconds later, I have a crisis. I'm never going to write another song. I'm washed up. I'm done. And Tori gets mad at me and she's like, you do this every time. But I'll seriously go through a depression where I'm like, I'll never write another song. I'm done. It's all over. But that drive, it's like a hunger. I want, I'm a huge music fan. I hear songs that give me chills. It happened the other day, in the van. Is I'm listening to somebody else's song. It gives me I feel that emotion. I'm like, that feeling of theoretically being able to do that to somebody and do that to myself. Can I make something that moves me the way that person's song is moving me? Is a hunger that I have that right when I'm done with a song, I go into depression. I'm never going to write another one. And then I try to fight it, and I angrily try to write songs until I get that next one. And then it's the moment of ecstasy. And then I feel like I'm currently in a spot where I'm never going to write another song. So,
and yet we got 2 gems last night. So I don't believe you.
Yeah, yeah. But it's it's so quick. It's this is why I should talk to a therapist. It's I should at least get a week off of a good song that I'm excited about before I beat myself up. But it only takes 45 seconds to be all right, what's the next one? Because time to move on.
High expectations, and we all have them for you guys too. So we're looking forward to the new album. Thank you for your time. We'll see you at 6 o'clock on stage for another 4 hours of Hustle Souls.
Let's do it.
Thanks, Billy.
Thank you.